Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 2:30 session of Ready, Set, Go, put on by LMEA. The title of this session is Theme and Variation with Chrome Music Lab. And our presenter today is Mr. Keith James. He's the elementary music teacher at Westdale Heights Academic Magnet School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So please welcome, and let's get started.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to look back and see all of the great sessions that y'all have been enjoying. So let me present my slides, and then we're going to get going. Okay, should be able to see that. All right, so yeah, today we're going to be looking at a fantastic program that you can use called the Chrome Song Maker. I don't know about you, but of course, last year was a really difficult year. We had a lot of challenges to do, but also I've got a lot more tools in my tool belt, and some which I'm going to continue using. And this is a great one, and I hope by the end of today's session that you'll be more familiar with it. I'm also going to show you an example lesson that I used with it, and I'll happily share that with you. I had a lot of success with this lesson, and it was really terrific. Okay, so now to get into the mood, though, we've got to sing the hello song. Okay, so you can clap along with me on the X's, but my hello song goes like this: say hello, and how are you? Say hello, and how are you? Say hello, and get down, and get down, and get down. Say hello, and how are you? All right, we're good to go. I couldn't hear you, but I'm sure you clapped right along. All right. So what are we doing today? We're going to be learning about the Songmaker program. And we're also going to talk about Mozart a little bit. I'm sure you're wondering, wait, how do those go together? Well, hang with me, and I promise you'll see how they go together. We're going to talk about theme and variation, a sample lesson that I did that puts it all together. And we're going to see and hear some examples of some of my students. I picked some of my favorites to share with you. We'll have time at the end for questions and even a few extra fun little activities. Okay, so let's get started. Now I'm going to be talking about several programs during this webinar, and you might be familiar with some, you might not be. We're going to be focusing on this, of course, which is the Chrome Song Maker. And so you will be familiar with that. I'm also going to talk about Seesaw and Kahoot. If you are not familiar with those, that is totally okay. You don't need to know those. Don't worry. I'm not going to make you learn 20 different programs just to do this. I use them, but you don't have to. Also, this program, I should say this software, of course, you don't need an email to access. It's 100% free. I would never make my kids do something like that. So here we go. All right, so first I want to ask the question, why composing? Why do we want our students to compose? And well, I don't know about you, but a lot of my students are already natural composers. They can come up with songs on the spot. And sometimes I like to take a survey of my students to see what their interests are. And of course, they love to dance and we want to learn about this music, but they want to know how to write music. Now, if you're a musician like me, you know that there's a lot of rules that goes along with learning how to actually write music, to do the composing. Whole lot of rules. And that can be daunting. We wouldn't want to have a third grader and drop them in a college level composing course because they'd be overwhelmed. I love these sorts of things, and there's lots of programs out there, lots of software that allows a student to compose using its own sort of set rules or boundaries, and to experiment with that without being overwhelmed by all of those little minutiae, you know. And also, this is a great step into the world of digital and electronic music, because that's what we're creating. There are no physical instruments involved, so it's digital. Okay, so Chrome Songmaker is a part of a suite of really neat programs called the Chrome Music Lab. And I'm going to go ahead and share one of my tabs. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so this is the Chrome Music Lab, and each one of these is really fantastic, and there's time to explore. I mean, they're worthy of their own exploration on their own. This one's great for science. Here's a really neat sort of a chord maker and lots of fun stuff. But we don't have all day, so we're just going to be focusing on this one, the Song Maker. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and that takes us to here. Oh, and by the way, this works on Chromebooks, it works on iPads, it works on PCs. You can even use your phone to play. I haven't tried composing on my phone. I don't think my fingers are small enough for that, but it's very universal. Okay, so when students first join it, they will see this, a blank screen here. And when you hold down the mouse, it makes some pretty rainbow colors there, and I'm sure you heard some sounds. Okay, and of course that's what a kid's going to do too. They're going to just press the mouse there and make a shape or something. Now you'll notice down here we have play, so I'm going to press play and let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm sure that you saw the bar going along, and it's playing the notes that I have put into it. Okay, so I'm going to restart just to make a blank canvas here. And so once kids get the idea of that, they might want to make a little tune or something. So I'm just going to come up with something here. Okay, and I'm sure you heard the notes as I'm playing them, or as I'm adding them. When I click again, it takes it away. All right, so let's see if we like this. Okay, fine enough for an example. And also notice, of course, it loops. Whatever the screen is, it continually loops it until you press stop. Now, I'm sure you've noticed already that we have something down here that says marimba, and you're hearing a marimba. All right, well, let's see what happens when I press this. Well, now it says piano. So now it's a piano, okay? We also have strings, pizzicato strings, and woodwinds. Synthesizer. And back to marimba. Okay, so we've got some different instruments that we can use. Okay, I'm going to add a few notes over here because we need a little more texture over there. All right, now I want you to notice down here we have some dots, and when I click on that, I'm sure you hear a low sound and a high sound because now we are adding some percussion accompaniment to our little melody. Now, just like our melody here, we can change how the accompaniment sounds, our percussion. Right now it's on electronic. Here is blocks. There's drum kit, bass and snare, and conga drums. Okay, so you get the idea. So there's 5 different melodies we can use, or instruments, and 4 different drum sets. So right away, we've got a lot of combinations, a lot of variations that we can do. And of course, I'm sure you noticed here, we've got a tempo bar, which we can slide. Okay, so you get the idea. That's the basic song maker. All right, now we're going to go back to my presentation. So let me stop sharing this. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So here's the specifications. Now, I just played a basic version of it. It can get more complicated than that. There's a little gear down there called settings, and you can change a lot of things. There's 3 tonalities. There's major, pentatonic, and chromatic. We were doing the major tonality, obviously. The range is from 1 to 3 octaves. For duration, you can have anywhere from 1 to 16 bars with 2 to 7 beats per bar. Instrumentation, as I said, we have marimba, piano, strings, woodwinds, and synthesizer. And for the rhythm sets, there's electronic, tone block, drum kits, and conga. A low sound and a high sound for each of those. I also noticed something kind of cool, which I didn't know when I first started using it, but the colors on the tonalities actually match boom whacker colors. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm sure that's planned, not just a happy coincidence, but I think that's fantastic. Okay. Blank canvas. Okay, so I want you to learn from my mistakes with something I call the blank canvas problem. So when I first discovered this program, I thought, okay, great. Well, let me just show it to the kids. And I'll say, okay, here you go, kids, make a song. And I got some response on that, but not a whole lot. Some of the kids jumped right in. I had some kids the first day making all these different songs and calling it different things, but some kids were a little overwhelmed. And that kind of comes down to the student, because there are some students who you put a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper in front of them and you say, draw something. They'll start drawing. But then there are some kids who will say, draw what? What do you mean? They need some sort of specifics, some sort of parameters. And it's the same case with this. I wouldn't exactly the first day with this say, okay, just make a song. You have to have some sort of definition, like this is what I want you to make. So I've got some examples here just to keep it simple. The first time students are using it, you might just say, hey, make a scale that goes up. Okay, and now let's hear it. Did it go up? Yes, it did. Awesome. How about one that goes down? Let's listen. There it is. Okay. All right. Now take your up and down scale and change the instrument. Okay. Now adjust your tempo and add a beat. There you go. Perfect. That would be perfect for the first day of encountering this program, just to get everybody familiar with it. Now, some kids, of course, will take it to new heights on their own, and that's awesome. But that's a very basic. Okay. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay. So, yeah, here's an example lesson of some things that I did in my classroom. This is how I break down my lesson, just the objectives of what we're going to do. Right, to introduce Mozart, and trust me, I'll know why we're getting into Mozart. We started with some musical sketching. I played the Rondo a la Turque while the kids sketched. And, we talked about a rondo form. I'm rushing through these a little bit because they don't have anything to do with the song maker, but I want you to see how it all comes together. Trust me. All right. There are lots of fun Mozart activities out there. And if we have time, we might do some. Okay. Right. Here are some more activities. There we go. All right, yeah, see, here would be a sample lesson for week 1 with Mozart. Move it, found sound, play along. All right, now I want to talk about the classics for kids. Okay, this is a great website for learning about composers. Here we go. All right, now each of the composers, it talks about their life, of course, and it's a nice, easy language. But why I really like the Classics for Kids website is because it then has examples of their music. Okay, so let's say we've already done musical sketching to the Turkish Rondo and done some move it, some play-alongs with it. And I could say, okay, boys and girls, well, let me play this for you. And of course they would say, oh yes, that's right, that's what we just moved to, or what we just drew. That's by Mozart. But then, and here's where the whole idea for the lesson came together, okay, is because they have another example here. And so I told the students, I said, okay, well, we've heard the Turkish Rondo. Let's hear this one. It says this one is called Variations on A vous déranger maman. And please pardon my French. I know it's not very good, but I'll do my best. So then I would press play, and I hope that you can hear this. Whoops, I'm sorry, it didn't start at the beginning. Here we go. All right. Now, of course, the students at this point would say, well, wait a minute, we know that song. I say, what do you mean you know it? And they say, well, that's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I say, okay. But then maybe a few students might know it as Baba, Black Sheep, have you any wool? And anyway, so they're fascinated by that. And so they say, well, did Mozart write that? And say, no, he didn't write that. That was already a song at his time called A vous déranger maman. And it's fun to, let's see, I have the words here. which I looked up. Oh, am I presenting? Oh, sorry. There we go. There they are. Okay, so the words in Mozart's time are À vous décharger ma main, ce qui commentement, depuis que j'avoue si vendre, mes regards étendant, mon cœur dit à tout moment, peut-on vivre sans amant? And of course, it gets, wow, it's in French. So that's how the song existed in Mozart's time. So, of course, he didn't write that, but what he did do is variations. So I'm going to go back to my tab over here. And the one bad thing about this site is like you can just play and pause. You can't really fast forward. So let's see where we are in the recording. Okay, so that's the end of the regular version of it, and now we're going to hear a variation. All right, so of course the number of variations that you want to share is up to you. And then we would discuss, well, what is a variation? Okay, and I said a variation is, in music, is when a composer changes a pre-existing tune. It can be changed in many different ways. It might have different notes, tempos, rhythms, instruments, or more. The one that we just heard, it kind of sounded, decorated, sort of ornamented. And you could hear the other variations and play them and discuss how they're different. Okay, so we've got the basic building blocks for our lesson now. We've got a familiarity with the Chrome Song Maker, and then we've got the idea of the theme and variation, especially with that already known tune, Ba Ba Black Sheep, or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And so that's going to finally get us to the lesson, okay? Now, I like to use Seesaw, and this is how I used it. You do not have to be familiar with Seesaw, but I'm going to show you my lesson. So I'm going to go over to Seesaw. Okay. And here's the lesson that I made. I've got the directions right here. Select the hyperlink below to open a simple version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And then I said, change, add to, or modify the song as you wish. And I said, note, the original song should still be recognizable. In other words, if somebody was listening to it, they should be able to say, oh yeah, that kind of sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And then I have the directions on how to save it and copy it. And then I also love it when the students give their compositions a name. I think that's important. Just like a signature on an artwork, when you give it a name, that's sort of like ownership. So let me show you what I gave them. Oops. Okay, I apologize. I have to sign in here so that we can see the actual activity. There we go. All right. Ooh, dee. Okay, here we are. So this is what I gave them. Okay. So it's not even the whole song, it's just the first little phrase, and then I invited students to then change it, okay? So I thought it might be kind of fun for us to hear some of their responses, okay? So let me go back. Whoops, oh, not there. All right, I apologize. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so here we have some responses. Okay, and again, this is using Seesaw, and you don't have to use Seesaw. It's one that I like. But let's see. Let's see what Rowan did for his variation on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So I'm going to press that, and let's listen. Okay, so obviously he picked a nice brisk tempo. There's some interesting parallel harmonies there, and I love his little dee 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 dee, his sort of little counter melody there. Let's see what else. All right. Let's see. I think Stella did a pretty cool one. Okay, so she went all synthetic sounds there, which I love. And here's an example of a student where she kind of went above and beyond. She figured out how to add more measures to it, and she figured out the entire song. I didn't give that to her. I just gave her the first part, and she figured that out. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's see what else. Oh, I think Kaya's is pretty good. Okay, pretty nice. All right, let's listen to just a couple more. Oh, Farah's is good. I don't think we've heard Farah's yet. All right, yeah, that's one of my favorites. So as you can see, there are so many different variations that the kids can do. And you've got kind of got a built-in performance right there, because you can have the kids, they can, from their seat, they can play their piece and everybody can listen. And then you can talk about how it's different, how it's the same. Or if you have something like Seesaw or use some sort of a screen sharing, then you can put it up on the big screen in the front of the class. Also, let me point out that this lesson works really well for virtual students. I had my virtual students were able to turn in their pieces as well. Okay, so let's see where we are. Close a couple of these tabs. Okay. Stop sharing.
Hey, Keith, there's a question in the chat that says, how can you link the Seesaw with the Chrome Song Maker? So how do you link these two together?
Oh, great question. Great question. Let's see. What I did is I do want to talk about that. So let me go to Chrome Music Lab. Okay, that's an excellent question. So let me share. Okay, so let's say we have our song here. All right. I think this is one of the students' ones. And let's say that we are happy with it. Okay, so then we're going to press save. Well, in theory, we're going to do save. All right, let me try, because I want to show you how to save it. Okay, so we have an amazing composition right here, and I want to save it, okay? And so I'm going to press save. Now,
it's not showing up on the screen.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, it's not sharing.
Okay, sorry. Let me go back. Okay. Yep. Here we go. So here we have our first composition that we did together. Okay, and I apologize. I should have gone over this then. So we have save. Now, when I press save, it takes me to here. Now, this is the only part that I find that the students struggle with a little bit because, they clicked save, right? So it's saved. No, it doesn't save anything on your computer or on the website. What it does is it creates a link, okay? And the link is right here. And I'm going to press copy link, and you see how that's highlighted. That means it's now copied. I can paste that into a Word document. I can open a new tab and copy that link, and then my composition will be there. Okay. You do want to work with your students with the copy and paste, because a lot of them don't know how to do that. And so make sure. Now, the question was about how to do that with Seesaw. Well, I created I just did the Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then saved it, and then embedded that link into the Seesaw assignment. So whenever a student opened up my assignment and they would click on the link, then my version, the basic or vanilla version of the Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star would come up, which then they would modify. And as soon as they've modified it, then they click save, and it saves their new version, which they then post back to me, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So where were we? Here we go. So we've got Seesaw. Okay, so this is something that we did in the room. And we had our earbuds. The students had their earbuds so they wouldn't disturb their neighbors. And I embedded a timer here. I gave them about 10 minutes. I thought that would be good. And then at the end, we played the compositions. and I thought it was terrific, and it was a lot of fun to hear everybody's different variations on that theme. Okay? Oh, and see, yeah, there's our screen for when we were actually listening. And I wanted the students to think about how it was changed. What was changed? Tempo, notes, rhythm, instruments. Does it still kind of sound like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? And of course, do you like it or not? Those are all sort of internal questions to think about and also to discuss as a class. Okay, so we've heard our student work. All right, so here I wanted to talk about how if you don't use Seesaw, that is totally okay. Remember, when students save a composition, that it creates a link, and they can copy and paste that into any sort of document or even into the chat. You could create a composition right now, theoretically, and put it in the chat, and anybody else could click on it and then hear your composition. Okay? And same thing goes if you're using a Google Meet or a Zoom. As long as they know how to copy and paste that link, then they can copy and paste that link anywhere. Theoretically, students could have a Word document with all of their pieces, like the names for them, and then the hyperlink underneath each one. So you can hear each of their pieces, and they can hear their neighbors' pieces as well. All right. Now, let's say that you don't use Seesaw, but you really want students to be able to hear and see other students' work. Well, there's good news, because there's something called the Song Maker Gallery. This was made by some music teachers, and it goes along with the Song Maker. And I wanted to show you how it works. Now, it's a little tricky at first because you have to download an Excel template, and then you put the students' names in and the links, and then you upload that. So it's a little tricky at first. But once it works, it's really neat. So let me show you. I'm going to share tab once again. Here we go. So I made a page, we just called it Mr. James. And when I press View Gallery, here are some students' examples that I put in. And you can put their names in, and when you hover over them, of course, it shows their names here. And some of these we heard already. I don't think we heard admirals. Let's hear admirals. All right, I love that. He went for a slower tempo, really kind of neat. Let's see. How about, oh, Parker. Parker did some great ones. Let's hear one of his. Okay, neat. Some real interesting harmonies there, okay? That'd be an interesting one to discuss because he kept a really steady beat, just going the whole time, but he really explored the harmonic aspects of it. So, again, that is the Song Maker Gallery, which you can use. That's also free to use. They do accept donations if you like, but again, free to use, made by another music teacher. All right, so let me stop sharing. Okay, so are there any questions so far about anything that you've heard or seen? I hope I haven't been going too fast. I tend to talk quickly when I'm excited. So if you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to go over, please let me know now.
I know I have one question that I was interested in.
Okay.
Whenever you go to the saved, whenever you go to that saved screen, like you're saving a song, at the bottom, it has the options to save it as embedded, which means you can put it up on a website and it'll just automatically play. But you can also download it as a MIDI and a WAV file. What I'm interested is, have you ever done the MIDI part of it before, where it downloads it as a MIDI?
Yes, I have played with that a little bit. I haven't gotten my students to do that, but yes, absolutely. You can save it as the MIDI or the WAV file. And that's kind of fun, because then once students figure out how to use that and they have an actual recording of their composition, then they could put that into another project, and it could be sort of their theme music for another thing they're doing. That like they've made their own theme for even this English project that they had to do or something.
Oh, that's awesome. And another thing, I'm pretty sure Finale and a couple of these music writing softwares, you can upload a MIDI file into it, and then it'll probably be super messy because MIDI files never really transfer over very nice and neat. But it can transfer into that, and then that can possibly turn into, hey, we're going to perform your song you wrote on the concert or something like that.
Wow.
That somebody can do.
That's fantastic. Wow. I'd love to see that. And that'd be a great bridge from the more sort of abstract song maker to the more concrete MIDI, where it's actually the staff and notes written on it. That'd be really neat to look at.
I'm interested to see how that was a project I was trying to do this past year, but it didn't work out. We have a question. It says, do you recommend to teach about grammar, duration, figures, and pitches with the song maker? I would like to immerse children into reading games.
Grammar with the song maker? I'm not exactly sure about the question. Can you say it again?
So the question was, do you recommend to teach about grammar, duration, figures, and pitches with the song maker? So maybe I can ask the question, Humberto. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but I'll see if we can get a little bit of clarity on it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, of course, I hope I'll try to answer it. Of course, words have their own sort of rhythm. And so that would be sort of interesting to maybe have a sentence or a phrase and see if you could use the song maker to kind of turn that into a little song. I need to go to the store and get some milk. Okay, well, let's put that rhythm down, everybody. And how did your voice go up and down and pitch? That'd be a really interesting experiment.
Yeah, he was saying like teaching the duration of quarter notes and half notes when using words to deal with that. But that's a good question. Yeah. Yeah,
that's a great idea. Right, and it's divided. The one thing about it, though, I would say is that when you're picking the notes, even when you repeat a note, it resounds it. There's no way to tie them over. So if you had 20 red notes in a row, it would play 20 different. It wouldn't be sustained. So that's one, I guess, shortcoming of it if you were talking about individual note lengths.
And I think we answered that question. I'm scrolling through. I don't think we had any more questions in the chat. Trying to think if I had any other questions on top of my head. Nah, I think that's about it.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, I put a few. I've got some extra activities, Mozart activities that are really fun. And even if you don't use the song maker, it's great to use these. I'll be happy to share them later on with anybody who's interested. But I guess that's about it if there are no more questions.
All right. Well, on behalf of LMEA, I would like to thank you, Mr. James, on your presentation. And I do want another comment that came up in my head is that this necessarily could pertain just to elementary school. Like I've done it with my middle school students and they've enjoyed this kind of stuff too. And even high school kids love just throwing their ideas on a paper. So really appreciate your insight and thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, y'all.
You too. Bye.